Every day we are confronted with decisions of a financial nature that require a certain amount of literacy and emotional intelligence. As we speak, many of us have entered into credit agreements that we do not understand and have far-reaching implications for our financial well-being. And this is what we are hoping to correct. Money Moves is brought to you by 274 Investment Managers. And this is an opportunity for us to share and to learn about our personal money management. Joining us on the show is certified financial planner Alta Odendaal, and she's here to help us become more financially literate. Alta, pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you very much. Thanks for inviting me.
Much appreciated that you could make time to be with us. I read somewhere that almost 80% of households are in debt as we speak. Is that an unusual thing? But that's the nature of our financial system.
Yeah, that's the nature. Unfortunately, I think people tend to, not look, and they don't know how to budget. And so if the need is there, and they buy things that they want and not what they need. So unfortunately, it is a current situation in South Africa, and I think it's time that we start educating people on how to manage their personal finances.
But is it a bad thing? I mean, another statistic I came across is that 75% of incomes go towards servicing such credit or such debt anyway.
Yes, it's true. And unfortunately, sometimes people need to help other people as well. So it's almost like a cycle where there's no literacy, financial literacy at all, or financial education. And if I'm in trouble, if you're my family, you're gonna start helping me out. So, and because you don't know better, and in the end, we all end up in trouble. So it's a matter of that people need to start taking control. Money must not manage you as an individual.
Right.
You need to start managing your money. That means you're in control of your money, and money is not in control of you.
But the thing is, given that there's no public education on that, right? You don't
100%.
get it at school. And you grow up seeing your parents, family members borrowing, heavily indebted and buying all kinds of things. There's a lot of insurance here, there's this, that's the other. How can you bring your finances under control? Where do you start?
I think what is important, people need to understand the basics. They need to understand how to run a budget, what is the importance of a budget, what is the important things in a budget. Because sometimes people get, they go out to a shop, for example, but they buy stuff that they want, and it's not stuff that they need. I mean, it's typically like, you try and lose weight. But, now you lose 10 kilograms and tomorrow you're putting up, again, gaining 5 kilograms. That's typically how we manage money. And I think if you've got a goal and it's one of the goals that you want to start managing your money and, that is your drive, you will actually start doing that. But people is not doing that. It's not important for them.
Let's start. Let me ask this in a negative sense, and then we'll move into a positive way of dealing with the problem. Because sometimes when you go about spending money and getting yourself into debt, you are not aware that you're getting yourself into trouble if you can afford it, you see. Or when you feel like you're making money anyway and money just keeps coming in. At what point would you say a person is getting into financial trouble and must take appropriate steps to get out of that trouble?
I think people get in trouble at different stages of their lives. It depends on job creation. There's a lot of other impacts in society that's got an impact on your finances. But I think what I would like to say is, and entice people to do is, the first time you earn your first salary, it's important to start creating the correct habits. What I've seen in the past is people will start earning money, and then they will go to shops and buy clothes and buy all the nice to-haves, what they want. And instead of looking at a budget and first decide, what do I want to do? What do I want to achieve a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now? And putting financial goals for yourself.
Yes.
Because then you will look at money totally different. You will not go into the shops. And money is a very emotional thing. People get confused when they deal with money.
I agree, but the role models are not there, you see. If you're not taught in the public space or anywhere else how do you know what the benefits are? Because there's also the question of instant gratification, isn't it?
100%.
They sale 50% less, buy this, best this, and so forth, and you want to be like the in crowd, you know?
Yeah. Unfortunately, we bombarded with the possibilities of taking credit in the society, and I think it's important that if you understand what is the impact of credit on your own finances, you won't fall for the SMSs that you're receiving and the things that you get bombarded on a daily basis with. And I think it's very important what you say is instant gratification. The psychology behind our delayed gratification is actually very important, because if you start saving towards something, you'll value it more than just buying, another pair of shoes and it ends up in the cupboard and you hardly ever wear it, because that's typically what happens.
All right, let's go through the step-by-step process now of getting your finances right. What should you do?
What I think the first step that you need to start is putting a small goal. I can remember my first thing that I saved for, it was a tracksuit pant. And I saved money because that is what I really wanted. And I normally talk to people and I say, listen, can you remember? And I'm going to ask you the question, can you remember?
Yes.
What was the first thing that you saved for with your own money and you bought it with your own money, even as a child?
Yeah, well, for me, I think it was university education, to be able to register and pay the registration fees. That's what I saved money for.
Okay, so obviously that was important for you.
Yes.
And how did it make you feel?
Well, I'm very proud of that fact up to now. I mean, I felt very good. It made me feel like I'm in control of my own life
destiny.
And my destiny in
Exactly.
particular. Definitely, yes.
Yeah. And I think that's important. If you think of everything that you work for and you start saving towards the things that you value in life, you won't end up in trouble. And I say it because I think people tend to react very emotionally. They don't think of, they cannot plan, first of all. They do not put goals together for themselves, even life goals.
Yes.
And as you've got life goals, you need to have financial goals as well. And even if you start with the smallest goal of getting just rid of that first debt, I spoke to a lot of people, and unfortunately, financial pain is also teaching us a lot of lessons.
Yes, yes.
And people will very often say, that the first time I went on debt review was the first time I understood where interest rates and how does interest actually impact on debt.
And just every day, what should you cut out? I mean, first thing is to budget, right? To have a goal first.
To have a goal, first
right?
of all.
Yeah.
Then to start budgeting.
Budgeting.
And I think what is important to understand, what is the difference between needs and wants.
Yes.
Then also, I think you need to understand what money is coming in and what money is going out. The psychology behind money is actually also very important, because it's easy for people to just swipe a card.
Yes.
But the moment you have to go and withdraw the money, and you have to take out the cash to pay for something, you'll think twice.
But here's another thing in South Africa, specifically, microlending.
A huge, huge problem in South Africa.
Yeah.
Huge. And unfortunately, it's people do not understand what is that impact of that interest rate on them, and it's putting them in a debt cycle.
And it gets especially poor and low-income earners into trouble, right?
Exactly.
Because it targets low-income earners.
100%.
Interest rates are very high. So how do you get out of... It's almost like an addiction, right? Or people get painted into a corner, and the only way you get out of the cycle is to go and borrow more. So how do you manage yourself out of that situation?
Sometimes it's not necessary to borrow more. I think, even if you have to cut your budget for 6 months and 12 months, and I've worked with clients where they had to cut a budget for 6 months and 12 months, and sometimes a year or 2 years to achieve a financial goal. If you want to do it, you can do it. I've seen people taking on another job just to get rid of that debt. And like you said, the microlending. But if you do not understand the impact of that on your personal finances and also your emotions, you know, unfortunately, you're responsible for your own destiny, and it's your responsibility to make a change.
But even if you are in financial trouble, can you get out of it, irrespective of how much debt you have?
I think it's possible to get out of debt. It all depends on what, and then also what is the interest rates. And I normally advise clients to look at the interest rates. What is the highest interest rates that you're paying? Specifically, credit cards, you know, those nice, you know, purchases that you've made. And sometimes, if you have to sell stuff that you're not using just to get out of debt, you know, that's a possibility.
Okay, and typical financial goals that you can set for yourself?
Small goals, I think, is to start saving rather than going and buying on credit.
Okay.
And if it means that you've only got one shirt and one, you know, pair of shoes or two pair of shoes, we've all got plenty of shoes in the cupboard, but we only wear one or two pair of shoes, is to really think before you buy.
Right.
And sometimes you can save a lot of money if you just think of not buying with emotions, but, you know, thinking before you buy. Quite interesting. What you've mentioned is your personality type's also got a huge impact on personal finances. If you're typically an extrovert, you know, and you like outgoing people, you like the freedom, for certain people, money gives them freedom. So they don't want to be tied up in a budget. For other people, it gives them security. So you need to have a balance of both. You need to have a balance of saving, and you need to have a balance on spending. I mean, we all work very hard and we want to spend as well.
Sure.
But we need to save at the same time.
Alta Odendaal, thank you very much for talking to us. Much appreciated. And there you are. You know, it's an emotional thing, right? And you've got to set goals. So tell us your own financial story. Write to us. The address is tonightwithtimmodise@gmail.com. We're very keen to hear your own financial story or the problems or challenges that you'd like us to address here on Money Moves.